everyone. Thanks for turning up to my session. Actually, I don't think there's an option right now, so you had to come to my session. So again, I'm Raj Sabhlok, president of Zoho Corp. Those of you who do not know Zoho, we're a business application provider, probably best known for Zoho CRM, but today we have over 45 cloud-based applications for businesses. And in fact, we believe that we automate every functional area within a business. So pretty exciting stuff there. A little bit about myself. I grew up, actually born and raised in San Jose, California, right down the bay here. And as such, I've always been intrigued with technology. In fact, when I thought about, what am I going to do for a career, other than being a professional athlete, which didn't pan out, I knew it would be technology. And, it's living in Silicon Valley. I mean, there's a lot of excitement, and when I was growing up, there was, it was really a gold rush type mentality. And one of the interesting things about technology, I feel, is that that momentum just continues, because it's actually so important for each and every one of our businesses. So, what I say, I find myself saying a lot, is that we live and work in this unprecedented time in terms of technology. We have this plethora of technologies that are available. And from my perspective, I obviously look at it from a software standpoint. And there's probably never in the history of technology been more applications to choose from. And that could be, frankly, daunting in itself. But no matter what your category of business or industry and what type of application you're looking for, there seems to be, umpteen different options for you. I think another game changer as it relates to applications, I think you'll all agree, was the advent of the iPhone, right? And in particular, the association with the App Store and all the apps that are available through the App Store. And in fact, as I go through my discussion, I believe, you'll see where I focus on this, I believe that Apple, because they were able to control the whole environment, the hardware, the software, the operating system, and the applications, they've created a great experience. And in many cases, it's primarily a consumer experience, but we're seeing more of it come into business, right? Most of us use at least productivity applications for our business, but more on that later. The point that I want to make is, even though we're in these incredible times, despite all that, surprisingly, it's really unclear whether all this technology is driving productivity. In fact, at a macro level, if you listen to the economists, they'll tell you, in this case, a report from McKinsey says that the US productivity has not been growing for a substantial amount of time. And that's really relevant and really important, to us as a nation in particular, in that, if productivity is not going up and the other variables that drive growth are not going up, then it's really hard to increase GDP, right? And that's the major indicator on whether the economy is growing. Okay, I might have pushed the wrong button there. So I was curious about some of these studies on GDP and growth and the growth factor and why productivity is not growing. And, there are several reasons this report pointed to. It highlighted slow digitization, which kind of surprised me. But then again, I live in Silicon Valley, and most people I talk to and most companies I deal with have deployed plenty of technology. The second point I find is really interesting, and that's automation. And I can understand that. I can understand, at least from a technology perspective, that there's more automation to be had in the systems that we're using. In fact, what I talk about is that we've gotten to the point with our software in particular where we've got nice, pretty interfaces. For the most part, they're easy to use. But the question is, are they really automated? And I'll talk more about some examples of automation, but I think you guys can probably guess what I'm talking about. Is the data connected? Applications, can you go seamlessly from application to application? And that all impacts how automated your systems are. But the bottom line, right now, in some, our technology is not doing enough for our businesses. And here's kind of an important corollary. There's also a lack of employee engagement. These are folks that are really getting into their jobs. They love being there. It's not just a 9-to-5 thing. They see a purpose in their job. And this point can't be overstated, because if you have really engaged employees, you're really getting a lot more out of your businesses. In this case, this poll suggests that 21% teams that are highly engaged are 21% more productive and 22% as an organization more profitable. That's huge. That's substantial. So we've got to figure out, how do we get our teams engaged? This is actually a disturbing statistic in that this is not just a kind of corner case problem. 70% of US workers are not engaged at work. So they're thinking of it as, geez, just punching the clock, mailing it in, got to get out of here. So we really have a problem with engagement as well. And, I'll submit that there needs to be tools to make employees' jobs easier, and also allows them to accomplish more, and frankly, just get a more fulfilling experience out of work. And, from a perspective of software, I think there's a lot that can be done within these organizations to solve this engagement problem and reduce a lot of the things that are getting people disengaged. So what's that? Mundane tasks, having to do repetitive activities that oftentimes are error-prone, and so they have to go back and repeat. Software can also enable more collaboration, easier collaboration, such that dispersed teams can work and solve problems more effectively. On a positive note, and this gets back to kind of the iPhone point that I made earlier, on a positive note, we've seen productivity gains in the area of mobile devices and those apps that we talked about earlier in the app stores by the various vendors. And as I said a few minutes ago, I think a lot of it has to do with the user experience of that technology. So, what I say is the need of the day, what's missing in terms of how we use technology, how do we get more productive with it, and thereby also get more engagement by our employees, is business applications that operate across mobile and web, and more importantly, are unified, integrated. So stop for a second and just think about your business applications today. I would submit that in many cases, they are not integrated. They're separate applications. The data is separate. Integration is a mighty task. It may or may not work across mobile and web. And, for the most part, it's a little bit frustrating, right? And that's what an integrated business application platform, I think, can help remedy. And so now we need to think bigger, too, if we think about what this business application platform might look like and how it will increase productivity. And so the simple answer is that it needs to be seamless end-to-end, whether we're talking about sales, marketing, finance in the back office, HR, or any of our collaborative applications. The hope and the dream here is that they all work together and thereby giving you this boost in productivity. And that's easier said than done, because again, we all use a plethora of applications, and we know that out of the box, they just don't integrate. And beyond that, out of the box, they just don't map or mirror our business and our business processes. So this is a bit of the holy grail. How do we cover everything, and how do we do that with business applications? So as a starting point, much like Apple did, is they controlled the infrastructure. They controlled the environment. And what I suggest is that in order to do this right, this business application platform, to do that right, you need a common infrastructure. You need similar technology in order to get these applications to work well together, to integrate, and to drive the productivity that we're looking for. Of course, we need a unified set of applications and interface so that, getting back to employee engagement, when a user goes from application to application, it's seamless. And in fact, it has a palette, in this case, a palette on the left-hand side of the window that gives the user instant access to whatever application they need in any functional area, right? CRM or marketing automation tools, customer support, all the way through. They're there, common interface, easy to access. And probably more important, from my perspective, more importantly than even a user interface that's common and is easy to go from app to app, is the data integration. The data integration. This gets back to the mundane tasks that our employees have to deal with, like entering customer information in multiple applications. Or worse, having to pull customer information and you find that it's different from app to app. So this gets back to what I said earlier about a key ingredient in building this platform, this business application platform, is the common infrastructure, because you can't do the data part without a common infrastructure. So the idea is to give, in this case, and based on the context of Sales 3.0, I'm giving you a perspective from a sales, customer-facing, sales marketing, and customer support perspective, but we want to have a seamless 360-degree of this business. It also should work on the back end in terms of back office and back office functionality, but in this case, we're highlighting the sales support, et cetera. Next, and this is actually not so simple in our worlds today, it needs to have a common setup and configuration. So whatever application that I'm using, I want to have an interface that enables the setup and configuration of that application, and it needs to be very consistent across the applications. Now, if you truly do have an integrated platform and you do truly have integrated data, it should also allow the user to do unified search across your platform, across your organization. So if I want to, again, using the customer example, if I want to search for all the activity with Acme, I type in Acme, the search, the unified search, is going to go out throughout my applications, whether it's email, whether it's CRM or support or finance, and pull back all those instances so that I can see kind of a 360-degree view of that customer. Another aspect that is a real inhibitor and an obstacle in using applications is the ability to deploy those, again, on a consistent basis without much difficulty. That's actually a big challenge. May sound easy, but it's not. And so in this business application platform, we give the ability, or we should have the ability, to set up users on demand. If a user, Charles, needs to have access to customer support, we just give them, in this case, desk. Whatever the application is, I just click on the application for the user, and it's automatically available to the user. So that's the kind of seamlessness that we're talking about. Again, thinking about the iPhone example, that's the way it is there. I go to the App Store, I download the app, and it's on my phone, and it's within thumb reach for me to start that application. But those, I think, are just really the basics of a business software application platform. Let's take a look at where we want to get to with this platform. First off, let's talk about AI and ML. I'm sure it's been probably about 8 hours since you've heard that. I didn't see the morning session, so maybe it's been less than a couple of hours. But actually, we need to get AI into our businesses. It's actually a technology that could be transformational for businesses. So the first point that I like to talk about is how do we leverage that within business? Well, if we have a true platform, we ought to be able to implement one AI system that runs across the platform. In our case at Zoho, we use something called ZIA. ZIA stands for Zoho Intelligent Assistant. These days, we just call it ZIA, just like Siri. And ZIA is my one-source assistant for all my business. So if I want to ask ZIA about a sales forecast, I do that. And ZIA knows that she needs to go out to the CRM application and pull the forecast and bring that back to me. Sure, as a user, an employee in the organization, I probably can do that. I probably could figure out how to run that report, may have to build it. But then we get back to the mundane. Do we really want our employees having to build and rebuild reports to get information that they're looking for? And so this is an area within business that can be automated through AI and ML, be able to learn from all that data and perform actions that are mundane, error-prone, and really let our users focus on the more higher value items within their daily jobs and tasks. So as I said earlier, there's a number of things that Zia can do for you. In this case, I'm saying, show me support tickets by channel. So this means email and phone and the other channels, social, that our users interact with us on. And show me this by month, by priority. And so Zia truly will go out and come back and give me that information. In some cases, it needs to span applications to pull back that report. Here's some other things that Zia and AI in general can do for you from a business perspective. Again, just focusing right now on marketing, sales, and support. So we can test lead quality with AI. We can, from a sales perspective, get information and insights on our customers and even understand when to contact, when's the best time to contact my customer. And AI can figure that out based on, when the customer has engaged with you in the past, when they open their emails and things of that nature. But this is all possible from an AI perspective. And of course, on the support side, AI can give me insight into the relative satisfaction level of my customers by doing things like ticket sentiment, and it can go much further where we can test this for sentiment, and if there's issues, it could open a ticket that's escalated for higher priority support. If there's, there may be a reason to notify the sales team with that sentiment information as well. So there's a number of things that Zia and ML and AI can do for you. The next piece that I want to talk about in terms of what's this business application platform of the future is process automation. Now, process automation in this context really has to do with whether your application is out of the box and you have to conform your business to the application, or can the application conform to your business and your business processes? And from my perspective, the latter is not only better, but it's more productive. It's going to yield more results for your business. So what does that look like in the context of business software? I'll give you the example that we have at Zoho, which is called Blueprint. Blueprint allows you to draw out your business processes in workflow maps. So in this case, I'm able to look at a deal flow follow-up process, and I can map it out. It really is kind of drag and drop. And once I'm set on what that process is, it gets pushed to the application, in this case, a CRM, such that the users, the sales reps, as an example, it could be the marketing folks as well, or others, but the sales reps most likely, once it's pushed to the application, they will automatically be taken through the business process. So there's really no opportunity for them to get off track, to get off the rails, because we've conformed the business process that the business wants and needs, and we've put it into the software. So as a result, you'll see as part of the workflow that we built through Blueprint, it gets pushed out to the CRM. In this case, we built in some rules that said we need to have some approvals, and until those approvals come in, the order in this case will be in kind of this hold pattern. So it could be as detailed in terms of the workflow that you want to build in to the application that you need, and it's completely customizable to the business and their processes. So this is very fundamental, as I said, in these business application platforms of the future. The next point, I think we all know this, is the idea of omni-channel. When I say we all know this, we all know that we're working on multiple channels. It could be telephone, it could be social, it could be via email, etc. That all needs to be there. And not only that, let's talk about some of the challenges today. We need to be able to channel hop, as they say. We need to be able to engage in each one of those channels that I mentioned. And at the same time, we want to have contextual information about the customer that we're dealing with. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So on the channel hopping front, a good example is a customer is on our website. And today, we see this in, a majority of the websites, right? We at least have the ability to chat. But let's take that further. Let's have the ability to go from chat automatically to a phone call. And that's part of the omni-channel that I'm thinking about and the channel hopping that I want to do. I started out with a visitor on my website, I moved to chat, and then I moved to a phone call. So similarly, this is within a support context. I need to be able to get right to the customer at the level and in the way that the customer wants to interact with me. If it's through email, that's great, but if we wanted something more on a priority basis, I can just start and click and start a conversation with the customer. Similarly, if I'm monitoring social and I want to engage with a customer or a potential customer, I should be able to do that in an interface that tracks all my social activity and gives me the ability at the same time to talk to customers or talk to the social user in real time. Let's finish this up in terms of this optimal business platform that we're looking for with unified analytics, right? We're always trying to get a handle on our business. And whenever we set out to say, hey, let's analyze something, at least for us, historically, we'd have to go look in many places for the data. We'd have to pull it together. We'd have to make it all work together, right? So if we're able to pull in this common infrastructure that uses a common data set, we're able to pull that data very easily, very readily, and provide brilliant insights into the business. And if you take a closer look at this slide in particular, you can see that we're pulling from sales data and perhaps even finance data to get the final financials. But we're also seeing information on customer satisfaction and other areas of the business where the data probably resides in multiple applications. But this is what we all need to bring together in a common platform. Here's another example of where we're building a marketing ROI, but it's also coming back and giving us information related to CPC and how much we're spending on our marketing. And that typically has to go through multiple applications. So beyond the kind of common look and feel of the application, the setup, the deployment, these are no easy tasks, but what I'm suggesting is there's a whole set of other functionality that truly gives us that seamless integrated environment. And that's really what we're striving for with this additional functionality, such that we can extend the application usage that we have to give us something that's truly productive and truly contextual to our business. This business platform, application platform, needs to really span mobile and web. And what Apple has done for mobile, we need it across both of those platforms, mobile and web. And that's really what's going to set up and drive productivity through automation and really solve some of those glaring problems that I talked about in my first couple of slides, which include this last point, which is the employee engagement part. So that's kind of our vision at Zoho. We've been on this mission for about 10 years. We feel like we've made some great strides in terms of taking our 45 applications and pulling them together to address some of the requirements that I've talked about today. So with that, I thank you and hope that you have the next day and a half of great sessions and discussions here at Sales 3.0. Thank you.